Today on a commonly good MTG, we're playing a horror tribal deck featuring your king and mine, the Black King, Toxrill the Corrosive. Yes! And we've snuck in a bunch of cards from our pal Ixalan and Roaming Throne, just so we can see what we can double up when we make this into a horror throne. Featuring the Ancient One, who is not a horror. All right, so that's it. If this deck sounds interesting, stay tuned to find out more. Hello and welcome to Commonly Good MTG. I'm your host, the current world record holder for most paper cuts sustained from Magic cards in a single game, Dr. Yukon SuckIt. Yes, thank you.
Filmed before a live studio audience.
Thank you so much. Yukon SuckIt. Word to your mama. So I'm broadcasting to you today from my secret underground headquarters, and I'm bringing to you a deck of my own creation called Horror Tribal. Yeah, it was time to put all that together. I was looking around for cards that were cool. I saw one called, was it Abyssal Gore something or other? And it's a horror. And I thought, oh, I'm going to make Horror Tribal with that guy in it. He's so awesome. Roaming Throne it. I went out and played it. You know what happens? It turns out it says when it comes into play that each player has to sacrifice 2 creatures. And I thought it just meant that the opponent had to sacrifice 2 creatures. It means I had to sacrifice 2 creatures. And I played it when I had Roaming Throne out. I had to sacrifice 4 creatures. And you know who had only 4 creatures? Me. You know who didn't have only 4 creatures? My opponent. So I ended up just pretty much wiping out all my dudes and leaving myself ass to the wind. So that guy's not in this deck, but the deck was fundamentally sound otherwise. And who did we get in here? We got Chupacabra Echo. We got the Ancient One. We got Malcolm the Alluring Scoundrel and Roaming Throne. So yeah, we got some guys in here. I think there's still some tinkering we do, but this deck ended up being pretty decent. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what the cards are in this deck super quick. We'll talk a little bit how it's supposed to work, and then we'll go out and we'll crush some hopes and dreams. All right, so Concealing Curtains. Why is he in there? Because he is a horror. Look at that eyeball. That is definitely a horror. And if we got out our Roaming Thrones, then when he pops, you will discard 2 cards from your opponent's hand. That's a thing. Other than that, he's a pretty good defender with a big old 4 butt, right? Malcolm is a legendary creature. We got 3 of them. Hopefully we won't have too many out at a time because we can only have 1 at a time. But whenever he deals damage, then we draw a card and discard a card. And that's what we want to do. We want to discard cards because we're looking to throw these big dudes, any of them really, into the graveyard and trying to get Defossilize and Graveyard Shift. That's what we're looking for, right? Hopefully we can also keep roaming. We can play that guy for 4 at any time before we got the Graveyard Shift. Help it with effects that come in the battlefield or something. Anyways, this guy, he's the guy that just lets you try to thin out your deck and get your stuff you need. Ancient One doesn't do anything. A lot like the dinosaur bush, right? Can never remember its name. Chomp Chomp, Pachewy Chomps, Topiary Stomper. There we go. I have to do the Chomp Chomp, Pachewy Chomp to remember how to say his name. Ancient One. Why? Because he's an 8/8, but he does nothing. He does nothing until you have 8 cards. Until you discard until you have 8 or more permanent cards in your graveyard. So that sucks. You need permanent cards in your graveyard to get them activated to be able to do anything. But when you got 4 mana, you could draw a card and discard a card, and then you mill the amount of cards equal to the mana value of the card you just discarded. So, yeah, he can get up to 8 super quick, and he can help you pour a bunch of your permanents into the graveyard. Thirst for Discovery, draw 3, discard 2. Unless you want to discard a basic land. No, that's not happening. We want our lands, and we want to discard 2 generally. So, yeah, this is a great card for this deck. Raffine is a Conniver. She comes out 1/1, and then she connives, maybe becomes a 2/2 because you're going to be throwing maybe Toxrill in the graveyard. But then it says that when she dies, she does -X, -X, where X is her power. So if she blocks for 2, then that means that she could do an additional 2 afterwards, killing something that might have a toughness of 4. Not a bad little cookie there, right? All right, Chupacabra Echo. When it comes into the battlefield, it does -X, where X is the number of permanent cards in your graveyard, and we are attempting to dump as much as possible, so this guy could be huge. 4, 8, 12, 16. He could do it. And if you have a roaming throne, then he'll do it twice, which is insane. This guy is an incredible killer. Love Chupacabras. Haven't seen him in a while. I remember, I think when I first started playing Arena, Chupacabras were around, and they did the same kind of thing. They weren't ghost Chupacabras, they were real Chupacabras. And because he's a horror, he will, I have to pronounce that right, because it's a horror, you can duplicate it with a roaming throne. All right, Phyrexian Obliterator. Anytime a source deals damage to it, then that source's controller has to sacrifice that many permanents, or times 2. What does this guy do? You pick a creature when he comes into play, and then if a triggered ability of another creature you control, the chosen type, it triggers an additional time. That's how we're duplicating everything, is with Roaming Throne. So most likely this guy's going to be the MVP. He's the thing that'll make everything go from happening once to happening twice. Sludge Monster. Sludge Monster, you'd think, being they're both slime boys, would be Toxrill's best friend, but they kind of work against each other to a little bit. So this one comes in and makes anything that it touches, it only does 1 at a time, which kind of sucks. But anything with the slime counter on it loses all abilities and becomes a 2/2. Toxrill says at the end of each turn, you put a slime counter on everything your opponent controls, which if you had the Sludge Monster out, means everything they have becomes a 2/2. So if they had a bunch of 1/1s out, then this thing will become a 2/2. But then they get -1 for each slime counter on them. So it would be tuned back down into a 1/1, but they wouldn't die is the problem. And you could have a lot of them, and that could be bad. And but if you could get 2 of them out there, then you kill everything, and it's no big deal. But if they got big creatures, Toxrill's by far the best way to go. These guys are kind of weird, but you play what you need to. That's the important part. Let's talk about Dusk Mangler. When he comes into play, if you play him yourself, then you have to sacrifice a creature, discard a card, or pay for life. But when it does enter the battlefield, your opponent has to sacrifice a creature, discard a card, and lose 4 life. If you have Roaming Throne, then they have to sacrifice 2 creatures, discard 2 cards, and lose 8 life, which is fantastic. So yeah, if you need it, Dusk Mangler is good in a clutch. Other than that, we've got Defossilize and Graveyard Shift, which essentially do the same thing. For 5, you can bring a creature from your graveyard directly back to the battlefield. Defossilize explores and explores again. Graveyard Shift allows you to do it as flash, provided you have 5 or more mana values amongst cards in your graveyard. I don't know. It'll tell you eventually what happens. You can play it for flash, just jamming it in as an instant there, right? All right, we've got a few different multicolored, dual lands to help us get through it. 6 swamps with 6 islands. There we go. So what are we going to do with this thing? We're going to get out early with some good defense, start going after their hand a little bit to see what we're playing against. Get some at least one guy out who's going to help us start the engine of drawing and discarding. Ancient One at 4 should be able to help out that as well, provided we can get to these cards. Same with Thirst for Discovery. So between what we got going on there, we got our engine for getting all the rest of these big cards into the graveyard, getting more land, and getting our graveyard reanimation cards. Once we get up to 5, we can start plowing things out and causing tremendous trouble amongst our opponents. Hopefully we're not playing against aggro, because I'm not sure how well we're doing against that so far. All right, so that's it. Now, before we can get out to do our damage, let's say our prayers and talk about what is best in life. Dear Black King Toxrill, it's so good to see your picture, my friend, who dwells within the dark chambers of my heart. Please hear my prayers and grant your blessings as we attempt to crush our enemies, see them driven before us, and to hear the lamentation of the women. All right, we're playing against Bulli. Oh my, keep 4, huh? All right, Toxrill needs to go in that graveyard. Could have been out Concealing Curtains. I could have played it next turn to get rid of something out of his hand, but what's the point of that? Alright, something slow. It's all fine. And into... Let's draw a card and get rid of poor Toxrill. Poor Toxrill sitting in the graveyard. Alright, I'm going to go slow. That's fine. We're going to activate the ability. Let's see what we got going on up here. Board wipe. This guy just sticks things. Get rid of that. Alright, here we go. Down to 13. Sorry, Chupacabra. Defossilize is what this is all about. Thirst for Discovery is going to get more things in the graveyard. So you can blow away the board at some point. I don't care. I just got to get Toxrill out after the board is blown. I'll have 5 mana here in a second. Just got to hold on to the cards in my hand. Are these treasure? Yeah, I get a treasure. Alright, good. It's been blown. Yeah, okay, cool. Totally cool. Nothing to slam up, but I like a 9/9. Black King Toxrill lives in the dark chambers of my heart. We're going for him. This isn't an activated ability. I don't think this is going to happen. There we go. Alright, let us... Chupacabra. Boink. Ooh, who's got a baby? And we win! Winner, winner! Victory dinner! Alright, playing against Dharkste. Whatever, man. I don't know what that means. Keep. And see the curtains. Going to get casual there. Just take a relaxing pose. Alright, 2 guys for the graveyard if we can get around to that. Here's an option. Dusk Mangler is one of the best guys. Alright, right, we're gone. Is this a 5? 5, 7, 4. Alright, Ancient One, have a good time. Maybe I should have gone after his hand. Alright, 4. I'm going to go ahead and put up the Roaming Throne. The Horrors. And send you in. Block if you want to. You just refuse to do so. Yeah, I know. You're watching. How you doing, my friend? Nice to see you. He's stealing my poor Roaming Throne. Well, he's got the kind of deck that the Sludge Monster is not good to go up against there. Whatever, we'll pop that guy right there. Mana, it's a slow one though. That sucks. But Lots of stuff in the graveyard. There we go. You know what's going to do well is Toxrill. Toxrill's just going to slaughter his side like crazy. The thing you got to watch out for is more ossifications, but you know, that's what every deck's got its issues, right? Oh, I should have sent in the other guy, the ancient one. Man, I was so excited to have Toxrill out. Alright, things are looking bad. That's not going to help you out too much. In fact, you're just making babies for Toxrill. Can you block? Yeah, okay, there you go. And they're all gone. And they're all right there. Oh, come on, man. Boom, boom. Goes the room. Alright, we're playing against Gamer House TTV. Touch tone video. 2 mana. Yeah. Alright. Keeping Graveyard Shift. We'll set that aside. Put out the black without a nice looking flying dude. This is not going to help out other than popping the curtain there. We get the flying dude to come across. At least we can start discarding stuff. Alright, another black is good. Let's go with the attack. Draw and discard. Let's discard the Obliterator. Put the curtains back out. These guys trying to poison me, huh? All in for 2. Yeah, he's not going to do anything creature-y. We need the mana, so let's just pop that out. We can go after his hand on the next turn. Obliterator's not that big of a deal for a guy that's playing mono black is the problem. We got to go after his hand to see what we're playing against. I mean, he's just trying to poison me, right? Alright, that should happen twice now. There we go. Oh, what do we not care for here? Let's get rid of Braska. And let's get rid of the flying guy. Alright, you can block if you want. You can just start taking damage. Who am I putting back out, though? Chupa? He's definitely not going to like it. Maybe I just bring out the Obliterator. Because then he can't attack at all. Alright, he's all almost tapped out there. He's got one guy. Pushing it over there. Cool. Alright, here we go. You go ahead and block. Alright, and let's bring our boy in. Shoot, I can just kill this other guy, can't I? Let's just do this. It'll be fine. Alright, now he's scared to death. Unless he's got creature kill. I think we got him. The big thing with the Obliterator is that with roaming out, he'll force twice the amount of destructions. All right, he's got no mana. That's it. We won. He knows it. He's got his own. And we win. SuckIt, Suckerfish. Alright, we're playing against Nono. I was going to be playing some magic cards. My wife said, no, no, no. Beep. Alright, one. Got two guys for going in the graveyard. Two. Let's get out our boy there who's about to die. Cool. Alright, there's three. In we go. Let's get rid of Dusk Mangler. And draw some cards. Chupacabra, go in there and be a bomb for us. Oh, I could show it the sludge in there. All right, so what am I going to do here? Nothing. All right, next turn we can actually start defossilizing some stuff. And the boy you want to go after, yeah. He's playing red and green. Phyrexian Obliterator is going to be fantastic. Toxrill. And we win. Yeah, man, you didn't have it. I mean, I guess you might have had some black, but I don't know where you even got that from. Victory! All right, playing against Sifu. And there's your cat over there taking a crap in my sand. I don't appreciate it. 1, 2, 3. Trick or treat. All right, so 3 we can start thirsting. All right, cool for you, baby. All right, 1. What else are we going to get rid of then? I guess a Chupacabra. There's a guy. I just want to be able to block a little defensive action there. This guy playing an Urza artifact deck. All right, it's a lot of stuff. Don't want to give up the lands on that. Yeah, let's give up basic land. We'll put out an ancient one in this case. We're at 5. Got maps. All right, so the ancient one can help out. All I got to get is this 4 going. Provided he lives a turn. This guy doesn't seem to like me having creatures out. And we're down to 15. All right, what do we got? Anything worth bringing back at this point? Sludge Monster, Chupacabra, or the Ancient One. Let's wait on this a little bit. Chupacabra. All right, I can pop one of those maps. Should just do it regardless. If he tries to do something sneaky, I'll just do it. What are we crafting here? Well, that was faster than my ability to get to it. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. This is Power Stone, so it doesn't count. Can't play it. Let's just put this out, or put her out, or there's our land. Dang. I guess I could have said no. In we go. All right, so we're going to go. Let's see. If he's going to be kooky, he's going to try to go after him now. Nope, he doesn't have it in him. All right, so that means our pal Toxrill is going to do really well. And let's put on Ancient One. Up to the full meal deal. All right, let's pick up, see if they have somebody they want to die. I would dislike if he's got, if he has the ability to clear the battlefield, we'll be space horrible at this point. Because we are doing really super awesome. Like, I'm expecting potty pants. There we go. That's what I was hoping for. Victory! Alright, here we are with Horror Tribal. This is based big time off of Horror Tribal, which I had in the past. But it was black, blue, green. I removed all of the green and just habits were doing black and blue. So we're playing just pure on Demir horror at this point. I like the fact that we were able to start slipping in some stuff from Ixalan with the Roaming Throne, the Defossilize. Originally, and the Ancient One. The Ancient One ended up being pretty excellent. Really worked well with this deck. If anything, we should probably ramp up on the Ancient Ones. We can talk about that more later and why that would be. All right, so, and the things we had Toxrill. We had Toxrill in a deck again. Can you believe it? Fantastic. All right, so was this a good deck? Yeah, it was really good. It was super fun. I liked it quite a bit, and it provided lots of options. That's what was really great about it. If anything, it was a little bit too many options. And we could talk about why that was problems. Well, let's just talk about it now. Because we only had like 2 of a lot of cards. 2 Obliterators, 2 Toxrills, 2 Sludge Monsters, 2 Dusk Manglers. So, and the problem was that maybe we wouldn't get to them because there wasn't enough. And therefore, they wouldn't be in the graveyard for me to steal to use as I needed to use. Yeah, that was probably the biggest problem there. Yeah, looking at this right now, I got 2 Ancient Ones and 3 Concealing Curtains. It should probably be more like, like 4 of these and 1 of these, maybe none of these at all. I just really like having something to do for one. The fact that it's a horror and that he's capable of popping and then coming back. It's a horror is what makes this guy really work out well, because when you got the roaming thrown out, it doubles up the amount of discard you could force to happen. But his ability really makes everything go really well when you get up to 4. I don't know. Maybe it's 3 and 3 would be better. I guess this would be 3 and this would be 2. I don't know. You have to find that balance. All right, so let's see. Was this who was the MVP? Who was the MVP of this deck? What was the card I was looking for? The MVP for me was kind of the Ancient One. Like I was saying, he ended up being really, really good. The problem is you have to get to 4 mana before you can make him do his deal, which you draw a card and discard a card. Then when you discard a card, so target player mills cards equal to the mana value. So you can force yourself to mill usually something really big, putting a lot more dudes in there. Like this thing does not have a lot of mill in it. I was looking into it. Maybe in Horror Tribal V2, we'll focus on the mill more. I just don't want to sit there and mill myself continuously. I don't need it that much, just enough. And so that's what Alluring Scoundrel was for, is to help out with that. But maybe he could be taken down a little bit. So there's some play right around here. Thirst Discovery was really good. I'm not a big fan of Raffine's Silencer, but she does have an ability that's a lot like the Chupacabra. So I kind of left it in there. Once again, there are 3 cards there that can be played with. But the rest of these are getting really good. Sludge Monster has its use, I have to admit, except for when they start putting horrors out, at which point then it doesn't do anything against it. And that just sucked. But yeah, Ancient One really has what it takes to make this deck get going. Otherwise, I'd have to say, it's Defossilized and Graveyard Shift, because that's obviously, it's a reanimation deck, and these are reanimators right there. In fact, if we could pay for anything for 5, and the crazy part is that everything we're looking to pay for costs 5 or less other than these 2 cards. Yeah, crazy, man, crazy. All right, let's see. Was this deck competitive? All right. Nah, it's not super competitive. We got it up to like 56%. So just barely every other game kind of situation. I'd go for long stretches of winning, and then I'd go for long stretches of losing. This deck doesn't do particularly well against aggro, because as you can see, there's nothing really going on at the beginning. I mean, Concealing Curtains is great to defend against it, but there's only 3 of them in here. Ancient One just stands around and lets people do whatever they want until you can get 8 cards in your graveyard. And you can't really do that until you got at least turn 4, or because that's when you have 4 mana. And that's at the earliest. So we need to probably focus more on what we're going to do on defense, just so that we can make it past those aggro guys. That's where I think our big problem is. Beyond that, this deck starts doing very, very well. Let's see. So that was it competitive? Right now, yeah, it's not going to take you up the ladder. It's really about fun, and that's what we're going to get to. Was this deck fun? Absolutely, it was fun. The great part was that there's a lot you could do. You're drawing cards, and you want to get rid of cards. You're throwing the Chupacabra or the Toxrill back into the graveyard, hoping you can get like a roaming thrown out, so you keep it out and set to horror. And so that way, every time the Toxrill was dealing 2 tokens, it would put, or 1 token on each creature. It'll put 2 tokens on each creature. Same thing with the Sludge Monster or the Dusk Mangler, forcing them to lose 8 life and discard 2 cards and sacrifice 2 creatures. Yeah, man, that Dusk Mangler and Roaming Throne is fantastic. Phyrexian Obliterator would cause them to have to sacrifice twice as much permanence as damage dealt to it. So yeah, Roaming Throne and the horrors are just so fantastic. I wish Ancient One was a horror, but I don't really know what he would do, double up. The rest of that stuff's pretty good. Yeah, these non-horror guys, that's really the place where you need to mess around. I looked for other horrors. These are the guys we settled on, and there's room for move there. All right, so was this deck interesting? Yeah, it was. It was big time interesting. I mean, it was basically reanimation where you're paying 5 to get things out of the graveyard, and you don't have to pay for them for the full price. But you get to, what was great was that we have 6 of those in. I'm almost tinkering about the idea of putting it up to 8, 4 of each. And then you're able to, though, go back and get whatever you want with whatever you need based upon what you are facing. That's what makes it really good. Because sometimes Sludge Monster is going to be the best thing. Sometimes it's going to be Toxrill. Reason why Sludge Monster turns whatever you touch with it into a 2/2. That sucks. But Toxrill, if you had a bunch of 1/1s out, will just slaughter everything. While if you have a bunch of big guys out, then Sludge Monster will just make them all into 2/2s. So they kind of work against each other, but you want to get out what you need based upon whatever it is that you're facing. Dusk Mangler won't really do much of anything unless they have very little guys out there. Roaming Throne works really good with Dusk Manager, just because that way they'll lose 8 life and discard 2 cards, as well as sacrificing 2 guys. But on his own, I've seen him be fantastic. It's just, you want to pop him, bring him in, bring him out. We don't have any of that coming in. That's a white ability generally. But still, being able to bring these things back from the graveyard, that's totally cool. Yeah, after this guy comes out, he's pretty much useless. He's just a 5/4. If anything, maybe get rid of him, put in something that's cooler. I tried. I ended up putting him back. That was the problem. All right. So, yeah, interesting. I thought it was very interesting. I liked it. I liked the whole drawing and throwing things away, then bringing back the right guy at the right time. But anytime I can play with Toxrill, this deck gets an immediate thumbs up over the top of anything else there. We got to play with Toxrill again. All right, so let's add that up. Was this deck competitive? Not really. Was this deck fun? Yes, it was. Was this deck interesting? Totally. Did it contain Toxrill? Check plus. All right, so because of that, I'm going to give this deck an A-, just because its competitiveness is hard. I would normally start that off at a B rate, but because it's got Toxrill in it, this deck deserves to be into the A's. So A-, but this has got so much potential. Like I said, these first 3 columns here, that's where the play is at. All this stuff is tuned in really well. Chupacabra Echo, incredibly good, especially with Roaming Throne. So yeah, man, I think we're definitely going to see a horror tribal V2 in the future. Looking forward to it. If you decide to play with this deck, I hope that you have as much fun with it as I did. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. From all of us here in the secret underground headquarters of Uncommonly Good MTG, have a great day. In the words of my people, screw you guys, I'm going home. Bye.